Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're starting a brand new fanfic, which is what if Naruto unlocked the Sharingan at just 8 years old. Part 1. If you enjoy this story, please like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want a part 2. Now, let's begin the fanfic. Today was October 10th in Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village. The people of this village were out celebrating the victory over the nine-tailed demon fox 8 years earlier. For most people, this would be a day of fun and spending time with family and friends. But for one blonde-haired boy named Naruto Uzumaki, he was doing his best to stay hidden from the villagers to avoid another beating. He didn't know for sure why the villagers hated him, but from hearing all the names he was always called, he had a pretty good idea. He just had no way of finding out for sure. Taking a turn down an alley to avoid a crowd of people, Naruto failed to notice the two Chunin who followed after him. By the time Naruto realized he wasn't alone, one of the Chunin dropped down in front of him and pulled a kunai and slashed him across the chest before kicking him into the wall. Naruto hit the wall and slid down it to the ground. Slowly standing back up, he saw the other Chunin join him and both had kunai in their hands. Now we will finish what the Yondaime started 8 years ago. Laughed one of the Chunin. Prepare to die, demon brat, said the other as both Chunins threw their kunai. I don't want to die yet. There's so much I haven't done yet. I just can't die yet. Naruto screamed in his head as closed his eyes for a split second. When he reopened them, everything seemed to slow down for him. He could see the kunai still flying through the air, but they seemed to be moving slower. Thinking quickly, he grabbed both kunai out of the air and sent them flying back at their owners. The Chunin were surprised to see the demon grab the kunai and failed to move in time to avoid them. The kunai stuck in their foot, sticking them in place. Naruto noticed this and turned and ran out of the alley. He knew there would be people waiting for him at his apartment, so he went to his favorite spot in the village where no one ever looked for him, on top of the Yondaime's head. He got there and sat down to catch his breath, and before he knew it, he fell back into unconsciousness. Mindscape. Naruto woke up to the sound of dripping water. He stood up and noticed he was in what appeared to be a sewer with pipes running along the tunnel he was in and water everywhere. He looked down at the water he was standing in and noticed something strange with his eyes. Where they were once a bright sky blue, they were now a deep crimson red with 2 tomo in his right eye and 1 tomo in his left. What the hell is wrong with my eyes? Naruto asked out loud. Come down the tunnel and you will have your answers, said a booming voice from nowhere. Naruto, deciding he had no other ideas on what to do, decided to listen to the voice. He walked down the tunnel and came to a large open room that had a large gate in with a piece of paper on it. On the paper was the kanji for the word seal. Naruto started to walk toward the gate when 2 large orange eyes with black slit pupils appeared, causing him to stop. Out of the shadows came a large 9-tailed fox with red fur that sat down behind the gate and just stared at him. Hello, Kit. The fox said. So it is true then, I really do have the Kyuubi sealed within me. Naruto said. Yes, I am sealed within you, but that is not why you're here. Well, at least not all of it. The fox said, causing Naruto to look at it. What do you mean? Naruto asked. That would be because of me, said another voice from beside the fox. Naruto looked down and saw the Yondaime Hokage standing before him. The Yondaime got sealed in here as well? Naruto asked, a bit confused. No, I am not sealed in here, only the Kyuubi is. I am dead. The only reason I am here is because I sealed part of my chakra in the seal when I sealed the Kyuubi. Minato said, and was immediately punched in the gut by an angry Naruto. Why the hell would seal the Kyuubi inside of me? Do you have any idea how bad my life has been? Naruto screamed at the dead cage. Calm down, Kit. Just listen to what he has to say first. The fox said. Minato looked down at his angry son and let out a sigh. I sealed the Kyuubi inside you because I knew you had what it took to work with the fox and use its power for good. I couldn't ask anyone else to give up their child at night. For one, only someone from the Uzumaki clan could contain the power of the 9-tailed fox. And 2, I couldn't ask someone else to give up their child if I wasn't willing to give up my own. That caught Naruto's attention as he looked up to the cage he had viewed as a hero his whole life. I'm your son? Naruto asked. When he received a nod from Minato, he rushed the older blonde and hugged him. After a few minutes, the fox cleared his throat. Not meaning to be rude, but you don't have much longer, Minato, and the kid needs some explanations. Right. What happened to your eyes is simple. You unlocked your Sharingan, Minato said, causing Naruto's eyes to go wide. But I'm not part of the Uchiha clan. Naruto said. But you are part Uchiha just like me and your grandfather, Madara Uchiha. Said Minato. But that's impossible. Madara died during his fight with the Shadaime. Naruto replied. That's true, but he used an ability of the Sharingan called Izanagi to change his fate sometime after his death. My father never even wanted to fight against Hashirama at all. He was forced into it by the clan elders of the Uchiha at the time. There is plenty of information on this in the Sharingan and its abilities in the Uzumaki clan compound. Minato said, but saw Naruto's saddened expression. I wouldn't be allowed in the compound. Everyone thinks I am just an orphan or the demon brat. Even when I asked the Sandaime about my parents, he would always change the subject. Replied Naruto. Minato was angered that the village would ignore his final wish to see Naruto as a hero. He turned to look up at the fox. Will you show Naruto where the compound is and help him to get what is rightfully his? You know I will help him, Minato. Just like I helped his mother and Mito. Replied the fox. Can I hear about my mother? Naruto asked. I'm afraid I don't have any time left, Naruto. However, there is plenty left from your mother and I in the compound, and even the fox has some stories I'm sure he would tell you. Minato said with a smile. However, when you wake up there should be a katana laying near you that belonged to your mother. She was a feared swordswoman in her day and wanted you to take after her. She sealed it in with the Kyuubi so you would have it when you first came here. How do I turn the Sharingan off? Asked Naruto. Just stop the flow of chakra to your eyes for a minute and they will go off. Replied Minato as he watched Naruto turn his Sharingan off. Naruto hugged his father as he saw him start to fade away. Stay strong, Naruto, and always follow your heart. Your mother and I will always be watching over you and we love you very much. Minato said as he faded away. Naruto wiped away a few tears before looking up at the fox. So what now, Kyuubi-san? First, the name is Kurama. Second, could you change this mindscape of yours into something other than a sewer? It gets boring in here with nothing to do all day. After that I will lead you to your parents' place so you can get your stuff and we can start your training. You may also want to find someone to teach you Kenjutsu. Kurama said. Naruto nodded before he closed his eyes in concentration. After a few minutes the sewer started to vanish, replaced by a large open field with a river in the middle surrounded by the forest. There were even a few large animals running around. I like it, Kit, but what's with the animals? Asked Kurama. I thought you may like something to do while you are in here. Naruto said with a shrug as he started to fade. Real world. When Naruto came back to the land of consciousness, he noticed a weight on his stomach. Setting up, he found a katana in a blood-red sheath with a design of the Kyuubi on it. Drawing the blade from its sheath, he found a blade about 2.5 feet long colored a deep crimson. The handle of the blade was wrapped in red and black cloth. Naruto slowly sheathed the blade and went to strap it to his back when Kurama stopped him. Hold on, Kit. There should be a seal on the sheath somewhere near the handle. Find it and pump some of your chakra into it. Kurama said. Naruto looked for the seal and pumped his chakra into it when he found it. Out of the seal popped a 6-foot metal pole with a black, curved blade on the end. That scythe was how your mother became known as the Red Death of Konoha. She was a master swordswoman and was just as deadly with that scythe of hers. Naruto resealed the scythe and strapped the katana to his back. How are you speaking to me? Your father removed a part of the seal before he left, so now we can talk without you being in here. All you have to do is think what you want to say and I will hear it. Why are you heading to the Hokage Tower, Kit? I'm gonna talk with Gigi and find out why he lied to me about my parents. You also said I should find someone to teach me Kenjutsu, and if she is working tonight then I already have someone in mind. Replied Naruto. 5 minutes later, Hiruzen Sarutobi was sitting behind his desk doing his paperwork. However, his mind was on his grandson in all but blood and was hoping he was okay. He was about to check his crystal ball when there was a knock at the door. Come in, said the aged Kage. Naruto walked through the door and found the cage sitting behind his desk. The old cage smiled at Naruto, but it soon dropped when he saw the seriousness in his face. He was also curious as to where Naruto got the sword from. He could have sworn he had seen that blade somewhere before. Good evening, Hokage-sama. If Neko-ne is around tonight, I need to speak with the two of you alone, please. Naruto said, causing the aged cage to wonder what was going on. Hiruzen made a single hand sign and 3 of the 4 Anbu left while one with a cat mask landed beside Naruto. Hiruzen made a set of hand signs and placed them on his desk, causing a seal to glow for a brief moment. Alright, Naruto-kun, it's only the 3 of us here now. What do you need to talk about? I would like to know why you lied to me when you said you didn't know who my parents were. Naruto said, shocking Hiruzen. What do you mean, Naruto? Hiruzen asked, slightly worried of what might happen. I know you knew who my parents were. I met my father tonight. Apparently he sealed some of his chakra away with the Kyuubi 8 years ago. Now I would like to know why you lied to me. Naruto replied. I am sorry, Naruto, but we couldn't risk telling you and you going and telling others. Your parents made a lot of enemies during their time and would do anything they could to harm anyone related to either of your parents. Explained the Hokage. Naruto slammed his hands down on the desk and subconsciously activated his Sharingan, shocking both Hiruzen and Yugao. So you did it because you didn't trust me. All you had to do was tell me not to say anything and I would have kept my mouth quiet about everything. All I ever wanted to know was if my parents loved me or not and who they were. How do you have the Sharingan? Asked Yugao. Family bloodline from my father's side of the family. Dad was part Uchiha and he got that from my grandfather, Madara Uchiha. Naruto told the 2 other people in the room. But Madara died fighting the first Hokage. Yugao said, confused. Yes, apparently the clan elders forced Ojiazan into fighting the first Hokage. After his death he used a Sharingan ability to change his fate and left the clan behind. He never wanted to fight Hashirama-sama. Explained Naruto. Everyone was quiet as they processed what they had just learned. It was broken by Yugao speaking up. That is your mother's blade, isn't it? Yes, this belonged to my mom. Why? Asked Naruto. Your mother was my Jonin sensei and always carried that blade with her. I never knew she had a kid because I joined the Anbu and didn't get to see her much. If you need someone to teach you, I would be more than happy to teach you, Naruto-kun. I would like that, Ne-chan, thank you. Hokage-sama, I am going to the Uzumaki clan compound to get what is rightfully mine. Dad even told me to go there when I met him. Naruto said and turned to walk out. What was said here tonight, Naruto-kun, is an S-class secret. Please do not tell anyone about this. Hiruzen said. Naruto just nodded and left, leaving Yugao and Hiruzen alone. If he takes after his parents and grandfather, he will be the strongest ninja of his generation. Yugao said. That he will. I just hope the foolish villagers don't do anything to him, or I fear they won't like what he can do. Hiruzen replied as he went back to work. In the middle of training ground 14 stood 2 masked figures, both holding a katana staring down the other. The first stood just under the 5-foot mark at 4 foot and 11 inches. He had a fox Anbu mask covering his face and golden blonde hair. He now wore black Anbu pants with a kunai pouch strapped to his right thigh, a black shirt with a red Uzumaki swirl on the back, and black ninja sandals. This was Naruto Uzumaki. The second stood at 5 foot and 5 inches and had a cat Anbu mask. She had long purple hair that reached down to her waist. She had on her normal Anbu attire. This was Yugao Azuki. Naruto had multiple small cuts across his arms and chest and was breathing heavily. Yugao had a small cut here and there but was in a lot better shape than Naruto. Doesn't look like you can go much longer, Fox-kun. Yugao said, watching the young blonde. Just means I have to try and end this quickly, Neko-chan. Naruto replied before taking a deep breath. Well, let's see what you can do then. Yugao said as she made 2 shadow clones. 2 of the clones rushed Naruto from the side while the real Yugao jumped into the air. Leaf style. Dance of the crescent moon. Naruto watched as the 3 Yugaos came closing in on him, leaving an afterimage of her swords. The clone on his right made it to him first and struck out with her blade, give him another cut on his arm. Deciding not to fight a losing battle, he waited till the second clone got close before using a shunshin to evade the blade. The clones wasn't expecting this and ended up striking each other, causing them to be dispelled. The real Yugao landed and looked around for the blonde ninja. Seeing a shadow pass by her, she looked up to see Naruto falling from the sky, spinning with his blade outstretched. Uzumaki style. Whirlpool slash. Naruto's blade connected with Yugao and sliced through her body. Suddenly there was a poof of smoke, and when it cleared there was a split log lying on the ground. Naruto looked around for the cat-masked Anbu. He found her when she jumped from a nearby tree and began her descent towards him. Hazy moon night. Yugao's body seemed to be surrounded by blades as she fell towards him. Naruto tried to block the attack, but his blade passed right through hers. Yugao landed and immediately brought her blade to the young blonde's neck. "Sorry, Fox-kun, but you lose," Yugao said as they both sheathed their blades. "You have really progressed over the last 2 years. Keep progressing like this, and by the time you graduate the academy in 2 years you will be far past the others in your class." Naruto let his senses spread throughout the area to make sure no one was around. When he didn't sense anyone, he removed the fox mask and sealed it away in one of the seals on his shirt. "I wouldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't for you, Nei-chan. I can only do so much with just reading the scrolls left to me and practicing by myself. Why don't you get one of your friends to help you train when I can't?" questioned Yugao. "I only have a few friends, Nei-chan. Shikamaru is too lazy to do anything, and Choji doesn't like hurting his friends. Shino and his family help me out with chakra control exercises, but that's about it since they mostly deal with their Kikaichu. And I'm still trying to break Hinata out of her shyness, and besides, do you really think that the Hyuga would allow the heiress to spend time with the demon brat?" Naruto explained. "You shouldn't talk about yourself like that, Naruto-kun. I heard you were just doing enough in your school work to barely get by. May I ask why?" Yugao asked. "I just don't want anyone seeing what I am truly capable of right now. Almost everyone considers me the dobi of this class, so I want to surprise them when I show them what I'm truly capable of when the time comes. Plus the Uchiha would just demand that I give or teach him everything, and I wouldn't do it considering it is clan related, and I don't think Gigi wants me to reveal my heritage right now." Naruto explained as he and Yugao made their way back to the village. "I can understand why you are doing it, Naruto-kun, but I still don't like it. You are a lot better than what everyone gives you credit for, and I just want to see you get the respect you deserve." 2 years later, Naruto sat in the back of the classroom with 2 of his friends, Shino and Hinata. Today was the day of the graduation exams, and Naruto was ready to start showing people what he could do. It was still a bit early, and the only other person in the room was Sasuke. After about another 15 minutes, the other students started filing into the classroom. The only ones not present was Iruka and Mizuki, the 2 Chunin instructors. As the students were waiting for their teachers, Hinata, Naruto, and Shino were sitting in the back row talking amongst each other. "So Naruto, when do you plan on showing what you can actually do?" Shino asked one of his few friends. Naruto knew that he hid what he was truly capable pretty good from most people. There were only a few people that knew this, and Shino and Hinata were 2 of those few. "Starting today, Shino, from this point on I'm not hiding anything anymore." Ever since Naruto had read the scrolls left to him by his family, he had changed. One of the things that changed was him running around shouting about how awesome he was going to be. Now, he just kept to himself and would show everyone just what Naruto Uzumaki was capable of when the time was right. He still wanted to be Hokage, but that was no longer his main dream. Now he wanted to make his parents and grandfather proud and rebuild the Uzumaki clan to its former glory. "You're still hiding the fact that you have the Sharingan and that you also have Uchiha and Senju blood running through your veins, Kit. So can you really say you aren't hiding anything anymore?" Kurama asked. "You know what I mean, Kurama. Everything will be revealed in time. It wouldn't do any good to reveal everything all at once. I plan on letting my team find out, but I want to know who is on my team first and if I can trust them," Naruto replied. Just then, the door opened to reveal Iruka and Mizuki. The 2 walked in and the class immediately calmed down and started paying attention. Normally this wouldn't happen, but with the graduation exams taking place today everyone wanted to get started. Seeing everyone paying attention, Iruka cleared his throat and got started. "Good morning, class. Glad to see each of you are ready to begin. Before we get started with the graduation exams, I would just like to tell each of you that I am proud of you for making this far. I want you all to know that the life of a ninja is not an easy one. There will be good times, but there will also be bad times. Always do your best on your missions and always be there for your teammates. The exam will be split into 3 parts, a written exam, shuriken and kunai throwing, and then the 3 jutsus you all have been learning since you started here. After that you will have the opportunity to perform any jutsu you may know for bonus points. Now let's begin, Iruka explained as Mizuki handed out the testing papers. As he reached Naruto and his friends, an evil grin appeared on his face as he handed Naruto his test. Naruto looked over the questions and quickly realized that part of them were Chunin-level questions with a Jonin-level question here and there. Shino and Hinata both realized this and started to speak up when Naruto stopped them and simply shook his head no. They both raised an eyebrow until Naruto started answering the questions. I told you it would be a good idea to have your sister help you study for this. Kurama said through the telepathic link. I knew they would try and mess with my exam somehow, but I didn't think they would give me questions that a genin hopeful couldn't answer. Oh well, just have to show them I'm not as stupid as they think I am. Naruto thought back as he worked on finishing his test. 1 hour later. Alright everyone, time's up for the written test. Please follow Mizuki outside and hand in your test papers as you go. Iruka said as he slid the door open and waited for each student. The last 3 to hand in their tests were Hinata, Naruto, and Shino. As Shino handed his in, he caught Iruka's attention. Iruka-sensei, it would seem that Naruto-san was given a different test than the rest of us. Iruka looked confused until he looked at Naruto's test paper. As he looked it over, his look of confusion quickly turned into one of anger. Why didn't you say anything, Naruto? I would have given you a different test. Iruka asked. It's fine, sensei. I had Nei-chan help me study for the exams today, so I think I did pretty well. Plus, Gigi said that he would be watching the exams take place today so he could get the teams made as soon as possible, so I'm sure he already knows. Naruto explained as he began walking outside followed by the other 3. From the ones I can answer myself, you did excellent, Naruto. If something like this happens again, please let someone know. At Naruto's nod, Iruka walked over and continued with the graduation exam. The next part of the test was kunai and shuriken throwing. The only ones who did anything worth noting were the clan-born children and Sakura. Most of the rookie 9 scored within the 80 to 90 point mark, with Sasuke getting a 98. The local fangirl club and some of the males cheered for Sasuke, but that soon turned to shouts of anger when Naruto scored a perfect 100. The next part of the exam was the ninjutsu section. Once again only the clan-born and Sakura did any good. For the bonus points, each student showed off a jutsu they knew. Sakura performed one of the few medical jutsus she had been learning, Ino performed her clan's signature mind switch, and Kiba showed the Gatsuga with Akamaru. Choji used a partial expansion jutsu, Shikamaru showed his shadow paralysis jutsu, Hinata performed a held-back version of the gentle fist, and Shino showed his ability to use his insects. Sasuke showed his ability to use the fireball jutsu. Everyone was shocked to see the jutsu that Naruto used. He created 4 shadow clones before they spread out. He and the 4 clones stood in a pentagon formation before each made a set of hand signs. Naruto and each clone then blew out an elemental bullet consisting of fire, water, earth, air, and lightning, 1 element for each Naruto. This left the class shocked in some cases and angered in others. As Iruka led the students back inside, an Anbu appeared and handed Iruka an envelope. When he made it back to the classroom, he handed out the Hittite to those that passed before sending the ones that didn't home. Congratulations class on passing the graduation exams. You are all true ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village now. In my hand are the teams handpicked by Lord Hokage himself. Please listen as I go over the list of which team you will be on. Your Jonin-sensei will be here shortly to pick you up. Iruka explained. Naruto tuned Iruka out for the first few minutes as the first 6 teams were all civilians. When Iruka started with Team 7, he started paying attention. Team 7 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha under Kakashi Hatake. Team 8 will be Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga, and Naruto Uzumaki under Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Choji Akamichi under Asuma Sarutobi. Please wait here until your Jonin sensei comes to get you, Uruka said before leaving. About 5 minutes later, a woman walked into the room. She was a fair-skinned woman of slender build. She had long black hair reaching her upper back, and very unique eyes that were a crimson red in color. Her outfit consisted of a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over this is very broad material which looked like bandages with a pattern on it similar to those of rose thorns. Her hands and upper thighs were wrapped in bandages. Team 8 with me, was all she said before turning around and leaving. The 3 members of Team 8 stood and followed their new sensei. The 3 genin followed their sensei to a barbecue place where they sat down and Kurenai ordered them some food. Let's start with introductions, shall we? My name is Kurenai Yuhi. I like genjutsu, teaching genjutsu to others, and spending time with my friends. I dislike those that put genjutsu down, rapists, and traitors. My hobbies include training and spending time with my friends. My dream is to see the 3 of you go far in life and one day settle down and have a family. Kurenai said before pointing to Hinata. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I like my friends, my little sister Hanabi, and training in my clan's gentle fist. I dislike those that put my friends down, the separation between the families of my clan, and the clan's caged bird seal. My hobbies are training, flower pressing, and spending time with my sister and friends. My dream is to one day get rid of the caged bird seal and have a family. Hinata said without a single stutter. The past 4 years of being around Naruto and really helped her get over her shyness and self-confidence issues. Shino was the one to go next. My name is Shino Aburame. I like my family, friends and the bugs I use. I dislike those that hurt the bugs and try to destroy them. My hobbies are breeding new insects for my clan to use. My dream is to one day take over as head of the Aburame clan. Shino stated in his monotone voice. And finally it was Naruto's turn. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like me friends, Yugaone-chan, Gigi, and my other precious people. I dislike traitors, bullies, and those who don't know the difference between a kunai and the scroll it is sealed in. Naruto said, causing Kurenai's eyes to widen slightly that he knew of the burden he carried. My hobbies are training to make my family proud, spending time with my friends, and gardening. My dream is to one day rebuild the Uzumaki clan into the great village it once was and my parents and grandfather proud and to one day have a family. All 3 had questions about what he meant by rebuilding the Uzumaki clan and who his parents and grandfather was. However, no one asked due to not wanting to intrude on him. Kurenai decided to point out a different fact. You know Naruto, to rebuild a clan, that could mean you may need more than one wife to accomplish that. I know Kurenai-sensei. I figured that out once I read my mother's scrolls. Naruto said with a small nod. Anyways, you 3 aren't full genin yet. The graduation exam was just to see who had potential to become genin. Meet me at Training Ground 8 tomorrow morning at 7:30 for your true genin test. Kurenai said before everyone left to get some rest for the rest day. Naruto, Hinata, and Shino stood in the middle of Training Ground 8 in front of their sensei. The 3 genin hopefuls were ready to get the test started and prove they had what it took to be ninja of Konoha. Kurenai could see the determination in Naruto and Hinata's eyes and assumed Shino had the same look behind his glasses. She had heard Iruka and the Hokage talk about these 3 kids and what they were capable of. She had seen them training a few times and was amazed by the teamwork and coordination she saw between the 3 of them and couldn't wait to see what they could do firsthand. Glad to see you 3 are here on time. Now before we get started, I just want to let you all know that this test has a 66% fail rate. If the 3 of you fail this test you will be sent back to the academy. She started and was glad to see that neither of them seemed taken back by this. She pulled out 2 bells and a clock from her pocket before continuing. You 3 have until noon to get these bells from me. There are only 2 bells so that means one of you will be sent back to the academy today. Begin. Shino and Hinata immediately jumped back into the trees and suppressed their chakra. Naruto simply stood there for a few moments before biting his thumb and making a few hand signs. Kurenai saw this and pulled a kunai from her pouch and got in a defensive stance waiting to see what Naruto would do. He slammed his hand to the ground. There was a small cloud of smoke, and when it cleared, it showed a small red snake-looking creature with wings. The small dragon looked up to see Naruto and quickly wrapped itself around his neck and rubbed its cheek against his. "Good morning, Naruto-sama. How may I help you today?" the dragon asked in a feminine voice. "Good morning, Akane. I need you to find Shino and Hinata and lead them back to me once you find them," Naruto said, getting a nod from Akane before flying off. Naruto then turned around and walked off into the forest, leaving a confused Kurenai alone in the clearing. Was that a dragon summon? But there's no way. That summons contract hasn't been seen since Kushina-sensei. Kurenai thought to herself before a thought entered her mind. Naruto is an Uzumaki too. Could he be Sensei's son? XXX. Naruto was sitting on a branch high up in a tree in the forest waiting for his teammates to show up. "So what's your plan, Kit?" Kurama asked. "I have never seen a three-man squad before. There has to be a different meaning to this test. If I had to guess, Kurenai-sensei wants to see if we will turn our backs on one another or if we will work together as a team or not," Naruto replied as he felt his teammates land on the branch behind him. Naruto stood and turned around to face his teammates before speaking. "I'm sure you two have figured out this test by now, right?" Naruto asked, getting a nod from Shino and Hinata. "Well, I have a plan that might just work," Naruto said before he started explaining his plan. XXX. Kurenai walked out of the forest and into another clearing. It had been about 2 hours since the test started and she still hadn't seen any signs of her potential team. Suddenly she felt 2 chakra signatures and turned to see Hinata and Naruto come running out of the forest. From what I've seen and been told, these three wouldn't abandon one another, so that must mean Shino is somewhere nearby. Kurenai thought to herself as she pulled 2 kunai from her pouch and held them in a reverse grip. Naruto made it to her first and threw a punch at his sensei's face. She leaned back slightly to avoid getting hit and then threw her own punch at the blonde's ribs. The punch landed and pushed Naruto back a few feet, but he didn't let that stop him. He charged forward again and jumped into the air and tried to kick her in the side of the head. Kurenai leaned backwards into a handstand and kicked Naruto away in the process. She didn't get a break, however, when she had to start dodging Juken strikes from Hinata. After about a minute of dodging the Hyuga's attacks, Kurenai noticed that the attacks were sloppy, unlike what she had seen before. She grabbed Hinata's wrist and delivered an open palm strike to the girl's stomach. She wasn't expecting Hinata to poof into smoke from the hit. She barely had time to bring her kunai up to block Naruto's next attack. Uzumaki style. Whirlpool slash. Naruto came spinning through the air at Kurenai, who stopped his blade with her kunai. "I'll admit I was surprised to see you had a clone pose as Hinata. But you do know that you won't pass this test alone," Kurenai said. Naruto just looked at her with a smirk. "Who said I was out here alone?" Naruto asked. Kurenai then noticed another chakra coming up behind her and quickly kicked Naruto away. She turned around and started dodging Juken strikes from Hinata. She could tell this was the real Hinata by the way she moved and delivered each strike. She was wondering where Shino was, but her main focusing was on not letting any of Hinata's attacks land a hit. Hinata threw her arm forward to strike at Kurenai's shoulder, but was sent flying when Kurenai grabbed her arm and threw her. Naruto caught Hinata, causing the girl to blush at the closeness before they heard the alarm go off. "Doesn't look like you all passed the test after all," Kurenai said. Just then Shino landed next to the other 2 genin and held out his hand, showing he had the bells. "While you were busy with Hinata and Naruto, I sent my Kikaichu after the bells." "Very well done, but who will you give the other bell to, Shino?" Kurenai asked. Shino took the bells and threw them back at his sensei. "Pass or fail, we do it as a team," Shino said, getting nods from Hinata and Naruto. Kurenai let a small smile grace her face before speaking. "Congratulations, Team 8, you pass. Let's go get a mission and then we'll do some training." As they all started walking toward the Hokage Tower. "Naruto, that creature you summoned back there, was that a dragon?" Kurenai asked, getting a nod from the blonde. "But that contract hasn't been seen since my mother was alive." "Yes, Kurenai-sensei, Kushina Uzumaki was my mother," Naruto said, causing the others' eyes to go wide. "Then that means your father is," Kurenai started once again, only to have Naruto finish her sentence for her. the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Please don't let anyone else know about this. I trust you all as my teammates not to tell anyone else. Naruto said as they continued to walk as he explained about his parents. XXX. It had been a month since Naruto and his team had become genin. For the last month they had been doing D-rank missions and training. They were currently walking back to the Hokage Tower with an angry Tora in Naruto's arms. They walked into the tower and gave the cat back to the daimyo's wife. Naruto may have felt bad for the cat had it not tried to claw his eyes out. Team 8 then walked up to the Hokage to report their mission finished. Team 8 reporting the capture Tora mission a success. Kurenai said as she and her team bowed before their leader even with Naruto mumbling about feeding the cat to one of his dragons. The aged Kage let out a small chuckle at Naruto before looking through the mission scrolls he had available. Let's see, you can help the Inuzukas walk their dogs, an elderly couple need help with some yard work, or, before he could finish a Chunin walked through the door and bowed before the Hokage. Please forgive the intrusion Hokage-sama but we just received a report from Team 7. The Chunin said as he handed the Hokage the report. Hiruzen read over the report before his widened a little. Neko! Shouted Hiruzen and a moment later the cat-masked Anbu was kneeling in front him. Retrieve Team 10 and bring them here immediately. Team 8 please wait here until Team 10 arrives. Hiruzen said getting a nod from the Anbu before she disappeared. Team 8 was confused about what was going on but just decided to wait like they were told. 5 minutes later and in walked Team 10 lead by Asuma. What's up dad? Asuma asked as he stood next to Kurenai. This morning I sent Kakashi's team on a C-rank mission to guard a bridge builder from the land of waves while he finishes his bridge. The most they were expected to encounter was bandits, but it seems the client lied about the dangers of the mission. Kakashi decided to go ahead with the mission instead of returning here. I am sending teams 8 and 10 as backup. With 3 Jonin, there should be more than enough strength to finish out the mission. Hiruzen explained. Hi Hokage-sama. Kurenai and Asuma both said as they bowed. They turned to their teams. Pack for a month trip and meet at the main gate in 30 minutes. Asuma said as Kurenai nodded her head in agreement. Asuma, Kurenai, Naruto please stay for a moment. Hiruzen said as the other genin left the room. Naruto, how much have you told your team about your secrets? Hiruzen asked. They know about my mother and father and the dragon contract. Kurenai sensei knows about the Kyuubi but as far as I know, Hinata and Shino don't. Naruto replied. So you haven't told anyone but me and Neko about your bloodline? Hiruzen asked getting a nod from the blonde. What kind of bloodline is it dad? Asuma asked. That is not for me to tell. If Naruto wishes for anyone to know that is up to him. If you happen to need to use it on this mission Naruto, I'm sure Sasuke will demand answers if he sees it. If he tries to force you into anything, I am giving you full permission to retaliate in any way you see fit. Hiruzen said getting another nod from the blonde. Before Naruto left he turned to his sensei. I will explain everything in time sensei. Just know that my bloodline will not bring harm to the team or the village. Naruto said before leaving. I want you two to keep an eye on Kakashi. I have had reports that he isn't focusing on training the whole team. Instead he focuses solely on the Uchiha. Maybe it is to repay Obito for something or something else entirely. Make sure he trains each of his students and if necessary intervene if you have to. Hiruzen said to his 2 Jonin receiving nods before they left. The 2 Jonin arrived at the gate to find the genin ready to go. Alright, Team 7 is about 6 hours ahead of us so we need to get moving if we hope to catch them. Kurenai said. Sensei, I have a way to get us there without us having to use a lot of chakra to get there. Naruto said as he walked outside the gate. He bit his thumb before making a set of hand signs and slamming his hand to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. There was a large puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Team 10's eyes were wide. Standing before them was a large dragon with dark, red scales and a beige-colored stomach. The dragon looked down at Naruto and a smile spread across his face giving him a slightly terrifying look. What do you need from me Naruto-sama? Asked the dragon. If you would Igneel, I need you to fly us to the land of waves to catch up with a team that left earlier today. We are needed for backup. Naruto said. Of course Naruto-sama. The now named Igneel replied as he lowered his body so Ninja could get on. Once everyone was on his back, he let out a loud roar and took off into the sky. XXX. Team 7 along with Tazuna had just made it to shore and got off the boat they were on. As they started walking along the road towards Tazuna's house, they heard something coming from the trees. They got ready to attack whatever it was until they saw teams 8 and 10 land in front of them. Asuma and Kurenai walked up to Kakashi as he began to speak. I take it you all are the backup I requested. How did you all get here so fast? Kakashi asked. Asuma started to speak but Kurenai beat him to it. Let's just say special transportation and leave it at that for now. Kurenai said knowing Naruto didn't want to reveal too much right now. Kakashi simply nodded and the group of ninja and one civilian started walking again. After about 30 minutes of walking, Sasuke threw a kunai into a bush. He walked over to see what it was only to pick up a rabbit. Naruto looked at the rabbit for a moment before he noticed something. The rabbit's fur is wrong for this time of year. Naruto thought to himself. Kid, behind you. Get down. Kurama yelled out in Naruto's mind. As Kurama yelled at him, he yelled at everyone else. All the ninja reacted quickly except for Sakura and Ino. When they saw the blade coming at them they froze. Kiba had managed to tackle Sakura to the ground but left Ino standing there. Naruto jumped toward her and knocked her out of the way, but didn't move fast enough to dodge the blade. Naruto screamed in pain as the large blade was stuck horizontally across his chest a few inches deep. Kurenai and Hinata both hurried over to Naruto and gently pulled the blade from his chest and tossed it away to try and begin to heal him. Shino, Shikamaru, and Choji took up positions around Naruto waiting for whoever threw the blade. Ino sat there in shock as she watched Kurenai try and heal her student. Suddenly everyone heard laughter and looked to find it coming from Sasuke. The Dobi got himself killed just to save a worthless kunoichi. Sasuke said. Everyone but Team 7 was tempted to beat Sasuke right then but had more important issues to deal with. Kurenai, take your team and Tazuna and get to his house and help Naruto. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino go with Team 8. I'll stay here with Kakashi and his team and hold off whoever is coming. Asuma said getting a nod from Kurenai and his team. After they left, Asuma and Kakashi turned to see two men walk out of the fog. One they knew as the demon of the mist, Zabuza Momochi. The other man had orange hair, a black kimono, and what looked like a sword on his back. Well, that's one leaf ninja down, 11 more to go. What do you say we see just how good these leaf ninja are, Ichigo? Zabuza asked. Sounds like fun to me, sensei. Replied Ichigo as he unwrapped his blade. You will pay for what you did. Asuma said as he and Kakashi took up their fighting stances. Naruto awoke to the sound of animals in the background and loud breathing coming from beside him. He sat up and found himself in a large open field. Looking around he saw the large fox and realized he was in his mindscape. What am I doing here, Kurama? After that sword embedded itself in your chest, your team and Team 10 rushed you to the bridge builder's house. Your sensei started to heal you but noticed that I had already started working to repair the damage. I managed to fix you up pretty good but it took quite a bit out of both of us. You will have a little soreness for about a day but nothing you can't handle. The fox explained. Can you tell who all is around? And do you know anything about who attacked us? Your sensei and teammates took the bridge builder so he could work on the bridge. Teams 10 and 7 are around training somewhere. That Yamanaka girl has been stopping by every so often to check on you. From what I can sense, she seems upset about something every time she comes around. As for who attacked you and the others, it was Zabuza Momochi. Your mother faced off against him once before and I would remember his chakra anywhere and he is one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I'm not too sure about anything else since your sensei rushed you here. The fox replied before closing his eyes. Alright, thanks Kurama, I'll talk to you later. Naruto said with a wave as he disappeared from his mind. XXX. Naruto opened his eyes and had to close them quickly. The sun decided it wanted to be the first thing that greeted him and was shining directly in his eyes. He started to set up and was met with the soreness Kurama had told him about as he did so. After he was sitting up straight, he decided to remove the bandages on his chest. As he finished removing the last bandage, he heard a knock on the door. Come in, Naruto said as he looked for the scroll that had his belongings sealed inside it. Ino opened the door and stepped in before closing it. She turned to face Naruto to talk to him but stopped when she saw his bare torso. She felt her cheeks get warm but quickly shook her head to clear it. She came here for something else and couldn't get distracted. How are you feeling, Naruto? You're not hurting or anything, are you? Ino asked. I'm fine, Ino. I'm a little sore but that will pass soon enough. So what can I help you with? Naruto asked his fellow blonde. Ino sat down on the bed next to Naruto and stared at the floor. I wanted to thank you and say I'm sorry. What are you talking about, Ino? I just did what anyone else would do for a teammate. There is no need to apologize or thank me for anything. Naruto said with a fox-like smile that caused Ino to blush once again. Not anyone would have done that, Naruto. I want to thank you for saving me and I also want to say that I'm sorry. If I wouldn't have frozen like that, you wouldn't have got hit by that sword. Ino replied. Naruto wanted to tell her that she didn't need to apologize or thank him but he saw the look in her eyes and thought better of it. Do you know what happened after I passed out? Naruto asked. Asuma-sensei stayed behind with Team 7 to hold off Zabuza Momochi and Ichigo Kurosaki, two missing nin from Kiri. Sometime during the fight, both Kakashi and Asuma-sensei got captured in a water prison jutsu but Team 7 managed to free them. They continued fighting and Kakashi and Asuma was about to win but a hunter nin showed up and killed the two missing nin and took the bodies. They made it here about 2 hours after we did. Ino explained what she had heard when Asuma and Kurenai had talked. Naruto was deep in thought for a few minutes until something came to him. Did Asuma or Kakashi-sensei say what the hunter nin used to kill the two? Naruto asked. Sakura said that the hunter nin used Senbon. Why? I don't think the hunter nin killed them. They were probably working together. A hunter nin disposes of the body on site and only takes back the head as proof that the job was finished. Also, Senbon isn't used as a weapon to inflict fatal wounds. Naruto answered. Then what are we going to do? Ino asked with a bit of worry in her voice. We train to get stronger and be ready for anything that might happen. I would give it about a week before those two are ready to go again. Naruto replied as he collected his things to leave the room. Can I ask you something, Naruto-kun? Ino asked before she realized what she said and blushed. Where the hell did that come from? She thought quietly. I thought you only used that suffix for the Uchiha. What do you want to ask? Naruto replied. Sasuke isn't the guy the first thought he was. He was laughing at you because you got hit with the sword when you saved me. Anyways, would you help me train? I have seen the way you and your team train and I would like help. I don't want to end up freezing in place anymore and I don't want my friends getting hurt because of me. Ino said, hoping he would help her train. Of course I'll help. But know one thing, it won't be easy. Also, you need to eat more. If you have been dieting or whatever, it needs to stop. The training will just burn away what you eat anyways so you can still keep your body however you want it. Naruto said as he led Ino outside. XXX. Teammate and Tazuna returned home later that evening to find Naruto standing on the bank of the river shouting orders at Team 10 while throwing small pebbles at them. Sitting on the porch of the house was an amused Asuma smoking a cigarette with a smile on his face. Kurenai walked up and sat down in one of the available chairs. What's going on here? Kurenai asked. Not sure myself but I don't mind really. Naruto and Ino came out of the house shortly after you all left and Naruto started helping her with the tree climbing exercise. A few hours later and Choji and surprisingly Shikamaru joined in. Not long after that and Naruto had them walking on water and learning to dodge, move, and fight on water. I haven't seen them like this at all. They must have realized that it isn't easy being a ninja and decided to take things seriously. Looks like you might have problems too, Kurenai. Asuma said, pointing at a slightly fuming Hyuga. Kurenai looked over and saw Hinata trying to stare holes through Ino. She knew the young Hyuga had a crush on Naruto. They had talked about it and Kurenai even explained to her that she may end up having to share the blonde at some point in life. It just seemed the Hyuga heiress wasn't too thrilled about that. Naruto, Team 10, come here for a minute please. Kurenai shouted from her spot on the porch. The four genin walked over to Kurenai and she gave Naruto a small hand motion in Hinata's direction. Naruto looked over and realized what she was meaning. Naruto wasn't as clueless as everyone thought he was. He knew Hinata liked him and he had to admit that she was a great girl. But he also knew that he would need multiple wives to restore the Uzumaki clan to its former glory. He had talked to his Gigi and Nei-chan about it and he had decided that he would only choose the ones that would return the feelings he had for them and could share him with other females. Naruto, since Team 7 isn't due back from training for another hour or two, I think you may need to explain a few things if you wouldn't mind. Kurenai said, getting sigh and a nod from Naruto. Naruto made Team 10 promise not to repeat anything due to it being an S-class secret. He told them who his parents were and of his Uzumaki heritage. Team 10 was surprised that Naruto was actually royalty and had such strong and famous parents. Ino had other thoughts going through her head about what Naruto had said about needing more than one wife to restore his clan. What I say next is also an S-class secret, if not higher than that, due to certain circumstances. This is not to be even remotely spoke of or hinted at with anyone other than this group and Hokage Gigi. Naruto said in a tone that left no room for argument. Getting nods of agreement from those surrounding him, he closed his eyes and began to focus his chakra. This is the bloodline that Hokage Gigi was talking about back in the village sensei. Naruto said, opening eyes to reveal 2 fully mature Sharingans, each eye now had 3 tomos. Everyone was surprised at what they were seeing. How, Naruto? I thought the only Sharingans left were with Sasuke, Kakashi, and Itachi. Asuma said after a few minutes. My father was part Uchiha, he father, and my grandfather was Madara Uchiha. Naruto said as he went to explain what he had learned from meeting his father and reading the scrolls left to him. The last thing I found out is that I am actually from the royal line of the Uzumaki. The Uzumaki clan was divided almost like the Hyuga clan is now, but neither line never had any ill feelings toward the other line of Uzumaki. Before anyone could say anything else, Team 7 came walking out of the forest towards the house. Naruto had yet to get any training done because of helping Team 10. I am going to go out and train for a while, sensei. Naruto said, getting a nod from Kurenai. XXX. Naruto was jolted awake from Kurama yelling in his mind. What the hell do you want? Naruto asked. I have been trying to wake you for half an hour. Someone has been watching you for a while now. I don't sense any negative emotions, but I figured you would at least like to know. Kurama replied. Naruto gave a mental nod and stood up off the ground. I know you're there. Come on out. Naruto shouted. A few moments later, and a girl that looked to only be a year or two older than Naruto stepped out from behind a tree. She had long black hair, pale skin, and dark brown eyes. She was dressed in a light blue kimono with a snowflake pattern on it. I didn't mean to make it seem like I was spying on. I noticed your headband and I haven't had a great past with ninjas. My name is Haku. May I ask what you are doing out here? The girl asked. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. I was helping my friends train and didn't get time to do so myself yesterday. I came out here late yesterday evening and must have fell asleep. What about you? Naruto asked. I came to collect some medical herbs for my father and brother. They were hurt a few days back and I am hoping to make some medicine to help them. The girl replied. You think she could be the one who helped Zabuza and Ichigo? Naruto asked. Just ask her about it. If she is lying, you will know. The fox replied. So how bad is Zabuza and Ichigo? Naruto asked. Who is this Zabuza and Ichigo you speak of? Haku asked. Naruto could immediately tell she was lying thanks to Kurama being able to sense the negative emotions. Please don't lie, Haku. I do not intend to hunt them down. Just let them know that I cannot allow them or you to bring harm to Tazuna or his family. Naruto said as he stood and started walking back towards the house. Arriving back at Tazuna's house, he saw Team 7 training with the tree climbing exercise. He started to walk past him when Sasuke spoke up. Where have you been, Dobi? Asked the Uchiha. Although it's none of your business, Uchiha, I was out training last night. Naruto replied. What good will training do you? You will never be as good as me. Sasuke boasted. Kit, please take this arrogant prick down a few pegs. Kurama almost begged from the seal. Naruto gave a mental nod to his friend before looking back up at the Uchiha. Care to prove that, Sasuke? Let's have a spar right now. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, anything is acceptable. Naruto said, getting the attention of teams 10 and 8 that had just walked out of the house. Fine, you should be honored that I'm even giving you this chance. Sasuke said as he walked over in front of Naruto. Asuma-sensei, will you referee the spar? Naruto asked, getting a nod from the smoking Jonin. You gonna use your blade or the Sharingan? Asked the fox. No, Kakashi was my dad's student, so he would know more about my mother's blade and scythe than anyone. And I don't want anyone else knowing about the Sharingan just yet. I really don't want to deal with all the bullshit the council would pull if they found out anything about me. Naruto replied, getting a nod from the fox. You both ready? Asuma asked, getting nods. Then begin, he said as he jumped back. Sasuke rushed forward, thinking he could end the spar quickly. He threw a punch at Naruto's face only to have the blonde knock his fist to the side. Sasuke then tried to spin kick Naruto in the side only to have the blonde catch his leg before pushing him backwards, causing him to roll away. Sasuke stood up and glared at Naruto before going through a set of hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Sasuke shouted as he breathed out a large fireball. Naruto just stood there, causing Team 10 to worry a bit. The fireball hit Naruto's location and exploded against the ground. He was even too scared to avoid my jutsu. The dobi really was pathetic. Sasuke laughed. Team 10 soon stopped worrying when they saw Naruto silently appear behind Sasuke. You really are arrogant, aren't you? A first-year academy student could have dodged that, Naruto said, causing Sasuke to growl as he quickly turned around with a kunai intending on stabbing the blonde. Naruto ducked under the swing and delivered a powerful uppercut to Sasuke's chin, sending the Uchiha into the air. Naruto then appeared above him and delivered a strong axe kick, sending him rocketing straight back to the ground. Naruto landed and waited for Sasuke to pull himself to a standing position. Naruto quickly made his own set of hand signs and stomped the ground, causing a large slab of rock to spring up in front of him. Earth style. Stone bullet barrage. Naruto shouted as he started punching the slab, sending stones flying at Sasuke. The Uchiha managed to avoid most of them, but took a few hard hits to the legs and stomach. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto said as he made the cross hand sign and a clone appeared beside him. Naruto and his clone started making a quick set of hand signs. Water style. Raging current. The clone shouted as he blew a stream of water from his mouth that drenched the Uchiha and ground around him. That jutsu was horrible. All it did was make my clothes wet. Sasuke said with a smirk that soon vanished when he saw Naruto's own smirk. I purposely held back the power on that jutsu, Sasuke. It was part 1 of me ending this spar. Lightning style. Electromagnetic murder. Naruto held out his hands as lightning shot from his fingers and headed for Sasuke. The lighting moved from puddle to puddle created by Naruto's water jutsu before slamming into Sasuke's body. The Uchiha let out a scream of pain before drifting into unconsciousness. Asuma called the spar in Naruto's favor and Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 took Sasuke inside. Everyone congratulated Naruto before his stomach started rumbling. Sorry guys, but I'm hungry. Let me get something to eat and then we'll get some training done. Naruto said and walked inside to eat. After Sasuke and Naruto's spar, the rest of the week had gone by normally. Teams 7, 8, and 10 continued their training to get ready for the showdown with Zabuza and his group. The day had finally arrived that the group of Leaf Ninja were expecting Zabuza to make his move. Tazuna and the Leaf Ninja decided to head to the bridge and Naruto left a few shadow clones at the house to protect Tsunami and Inari just in case Gato tried to get them. When the group arrived at the bridge, they found all of the bridge workers unconscious. The ninja quickly checked on the civilians and Naruto made some shadow clones to carry them to safety just as a thick mist washed over the bridge. Everyone was immediately on guard as the mist surrounded them. Naruto, Asuma, and Kakashi flared their chakra and pushed the mist back a good distance away from them. As the mist was pushed back, it revealed Zabuza, Ichigo, and Haku standing and staring at the Leaf Nin. I'll give you Leaf Ninja one more chance to turn around and leave with your lives. Zabuza said. You know we can't do that, Zabuza. We won't let you harm the bridge builder or this town anymore. Kakashi replied. Very well. Can't say I didn't try to give you the easy way out. Go Haku. Zabuza said as Haku rushed forward. A second later and Sasuke rushed forward to meet her halfway. Naruto, assist Sasuke. Hinata and Shino protect Tazuna. Kurenai commanded as she rushed forward with Kakashi to fight Zabuza. Let's go team. Asuma commanded as he and Team 10 rushed Ichigo, leaving Hinata and Shino to guard the bridge builder. XXX. Haku and Sasuke clashed Senbon with Kunai as they pushed against each other trying to get the upper hand. Naruto stood back watching the power struggle, deciding whether or not to help the Uchiha. Please give up, Ninja-san, you can't win. Haku said. I am an Uchiha. I am the elite of the Leaf Village. I can do anything I want. Sasuke replied in anger as he tried to overpower the ice user. Haku raised a single hand and started making hand signs, surprising both Naruto and Sasuke. 1,000 flying water needles of death. Haku said as the water around her and Sasuke formed floating needles. A second later and the needles flew at Haku and Sasuke, with the Uchiha just barely managing to avoid the projectiles. Haku started making another set of hand signs and Naruto decided to join the fight and try to stop it before someone got hurt. He rushed forward and just before he could make it to Haku, she finished her jutsu. Demonic mirroring ice crystals. A crystal mirror formed behind Haku and she stepped into it as more mirrors formed around the two ninja. I am afraid this is the end for you. XXX. Kakashi and Kurenai were holding their own against Zabuza as he kept attacking from the mist that once again surround them. It would seem Haku has decided to quit playing around with your genin. Zabuza laughed out. Sasuke can handle himself just fine as long as Naruto stays out of his way. Kakashi replied, missing the look of anger that crossed Kurenai's face. In all honesty, copy ninja, from what I can sense, the blonde Gaki stands a better chance than the other brat. Zabuza replied as he once again rushed the two Jonin. XXX. Team 10 was doing better against Ichigo than the others were against their opponents. Thanks to Shikamaru's quick thinking and Asuma's quick movements, they were keeping their opponent on the defensive. Ichigo blocked another strike from Asuma's trench knives and allowed himself to be pushed back away from the Leaf Ninjas. I think it's time I quit playing around. Ichigo said as he lifted his hand to his forehead. He made a grabbing motion and pulled down to reveal a mask, with the right side being white and the left side having red lines across it. Team 10 immediately felt the rise in power and knew they were in for a hell of a fight. XXX. Naruto's shadow clone sat the front porch of Tazuna's house waiting for the two people it sensed coming. He had his sword and scythe unsealed just in case they were an enemy. A few minutes later and two men, samurai from what Naruto could tell, came walking up the path leading to the house. Naruto stood and walked down and stood in front of them. What do you want? Naruto asked as he held his blade and scythe ready to attack. Run along, little ninja. We are only here for the bride builder's daughter and grandson. Just stay out of the way and you won't get hurt, said one of the men. I can't let you by. It is my job to protect this family and I will do just that, the clone said as he shot forward faster than the men could react. A few seconds later and both bodies lay headless on the ground before Naruto burned away the remains with a fire jutsu. XXX. Naruto and Sasuke were having a hard time keeping up with Haku's movements. Naruto was doing a little better than Sasuke, but since he wasn't using his Sharingan, he was still taking a few hits. Sasuke's body was littered with Senbon. He had tried to avoid each volley of Senbon, but most of them still connected with his body. He saw Haku preparing to attack him and the blonde again. He knew he needed to get out of the dome of mirrors but didn't know how. That was until he felt the presence of two people outside the mirrors. As Haku launched her attack, Sasuke used the Kawarimi to switch places with one of the people outside the dome. Haku tried to stop her attack when she saw Sasuke disappear, but it was too late. The Senbon went flying through the air and struck the neck of Hinata. Naruto looked to the side expecting to see Sasuke, but was shocked to see Hinata fall backwards. He rushed over to her, completely ignoring Haku for the moment. He started checking her over and soon realized he couldn't feel a pulse. His shock quickly turned to anger. Anger that wasn't directed at Haku, but at Sasuke for using one of his friends as an scapegoat just to save himself. He activated his Sharingan, not noticing the change in his eyes. Just picture Madara's M's, he was about to go and kill the Uchiha when the fox spoke to him. Kit, she isn't dead. I can still sense her chakra and her heart is still beating but just barely. The Senbon caused a death-like state. The ice user wasn't aiming to kill anyone. Have the girl remove the Senbon since you could possibly harm the Hyuga by accident, while you go and deal with the Uchiha. Kurama said, getting a nod from Naruto. Haku, our fight is over. Please remove the Senbon from Hinata-chan. Naruto said as Haku landed next to him. I trust that you won't do anything to hurt her, Haku, just please help her. I have an Uchiha to deal with. Once everyone is focused on me, get Zabuza and Ichigo and leave. I want to talk to you three and offer you a place to stay. Meet me at the place where we first talked in 2 days at noon. Naruto said as he started walking out of the Dome of Mirrors. Kid, your Sharingan is active. You need to deactivate it. What are you gonna do when the council learns of this? The fox said. No, he switched places with Hinata-chan just to save himself. I will use everything I have to beat the shit out of him. As for the council, it can burn in hell for all I care. Naruto replied in a rage-induced state. As Naruto started walking towards Sasuke's chakra signature, his chakra started forming around his body. Soon, a bright yellow ribcage was surrounding Naruto along with a skeletal head and 2 arms. Think Itachi's skeletal Susanoo but yellow. As Naruto walked, the chakra coming from his body pushed away all the mist. Everyone could feel the power and looked to see where it was coming from. They all saw Naruto surrounded by the skeletal figure walking towards one was sure what was going on, but everyone stopped their fights to try and figure it out. Kakashi left Kurenai and Zabuza and rushed over and stood in front of Sasuke. Haku had pulled the Senbon from Hinata and made she would be alright. She landed next to Zabuza a few moments later. Zabuza-sama, we should go. The blonde ninja said we should escape while the others are focused on him and that he wishes to talk with us later about offering us a place to stay. Zabuza wasn't sure if he would talk with the blonde, but he was going to use this distraction to leave. They gathered Ichigo and made their way back to their hideout. As Naruto made his way towards Sasuke, his nails and teeth grew longer and red chakra started bubbling around him. Although no one could see the red chakra, the 3 Jonin knew what it was from. Stand down, Naruto, ordered Kakashi. Get the hell out of my way, Hatake. I want the Uchiha, not you. Naruto growled out. Kakashi moved towards Naruto but had to dodge a swing from the large skeletal arm. Shikamaru, try and trap him with your shadow. Asuma said as the Nara made hand signs for his family jutsu. His shadow shot forward and connected with Naruto's but he was just barely managing to hold him in place. Kurenai had moved over to check on Hinata. She used a quick medical jutsu and Hinata started to wake up. What happened, Kurenai-sensei? Hinata asked as she sat up. I'm not really sure, Hinata, but we will find out later. Right now Naruto is after the Uchiha. Kurenai replied as the two stood up and moved toward the other. Hinata watched as Naruto fought against the Shikamaru's shadow until he finally broke free from it. Naruto started moving toward the Uchiha again but stopped when he heard Hinata. Don't do it, Naruto-kun. He isn't worth right now. I don't know what happened but we will deal with it later. Hinata called out as Naruto looked back to her before closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. Once he opened his eyes, they're back to be his normal blue eyes and his teeth and nails were normal as well. He looked back at Sasuke before speaking. Consider yourself lucky, Tem. Next time, I will end you and that's a promise. Naruto growled out before leaving with his team and Team 10 and heading back to Tazuna's house to rest and heal their wounds. Back in Konoha, Hiruzen sat in his office with another man sitting across from him. This man had a light yellow kimono jacket and light gray pants with a red scarf around his neck. He had dark brown hair and black eyes with hair tied in a low ponytail. Thank you for agreeing to see me, Hokage-sama. The man said as he bowed his head to the cage. It is no problem, Shibuki-san. I remember our Yondaime and your father getting along really well and he told your father that if he ever needed help, we would be here. The offer stands for you as well. Hiruzen replied. Thank you, Hokage-sama, I will get straight to the point. My village is small and we do not have the power to deal with large threats. As I am sure you are aware, the Akatsuki have been moving around a lot lately in order to capture the Jinchuriki. We have a Jinchuriki in our village, Fu is our village's Jinchuriki. She holds the Nanabi, or the seven-tailed rhinoceros beetle. I would like for her to participate in the upcoming Chunin exams, and if she would like, stay so she can be better protected. Shibuki said, surprising Hiruzen. You are going to hand over your village's Jinchuriki? Hiruzen asked. Fu is like a little sister to me. I am one of the few who didn't treat her like a monster. If it means keeping her safe, then yes, I will send her here to Konoha. No one here knows of her status, so that would give her a chance to actually make friends and act like a normal teenage girl. Please, Hokage-sama, I just want to make sure Fu is safe, and I can't do that in my village. Shibuki said, hoping Hiruzen will agree. Hiruzen thought it over for a few minutes before he decided. Very well, Shibuki-san, I will agree to it only if she wants to. I won't force her to move here. We have our own Jinchuriki that was accepted by only a few people here in Konoha. He knows what it is like, and I'm sure he will help young Fu. Hiruzen said, getting a large smile from Shibuki. Clearing, land of waves. They're here, Kit. Top of the trees about 100 east, probably waiting to see if anyone is with you and if this is a trap. Kurama informed the meditating blonde. I am the only one out here. You three can come out now, I just wish to talk. Naruto shouted, and a few seconds later, Zabuza, Ichigo, and Haku landed in front of him. What do you want, Gaki? Zabuza asked. I want to offer you a place to stay. It isn't ready yet, but I will soon starting on rebuilding my clan's homeland. I could use ninja like you three. Naruto said as he stood from the ground. And where is this homeland of yours? Ichigo asked. As far as I know, I am the last of the Uzumaki clan of Uzushio. I wish to rebuild Uzushio and restart my clan. Naruto replied, getting a wide-eyed look from Zabuza. The last Uzumaki I faced was a red-haired woman from the royal line of the Uzumaki. After that, I heard she was killed a few years later in the Kyuubi attack on the Leaf Village. Do you know of her? Zabuza asked. Yes, she was my mother, Kushina Uzumaki. I am the last of the royal line. Once I rebuild Uzushio, I can offer you a place to stay and work. You can become ninja of the village and leave this life behind you. Naruto explained. There was silence for a few minutes before Haku spoke. What would be required of us, Naruto-san? Just your loyalty to Uzushio and its cage. If you accept, I do have a job for you three, and you will be paid upon completion. Naruto said as he waited for an answer. The three ninja talked amongst themselves quietly for a few minutes before they turned back to Naruto. We accept. So what do you need us to do? Zabuza asked. I want you to track down the swords of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I know that Kisame Hoshigaki has Samahata, and I will deal with that. Collect the ones you can. Naruto said as he walked forward and handed Zabuza a scroll. He unrolled the scroll and saw a seal on it and gave the blonde a questioning look. That is a seal for my personal summons. Pump chakra into it and my summons will appear. You can use it if you need to contact me for anything. Naruto explained. Haku walked forward and handed Naruto a scroll as well. That is the money from Gato's place. When we left the bridge the other day, he was on his way with a bunch of bandits. We learned that he never planned on paying us and planned on killing us in the inn, so we took him out and raided his place. We took enough to do us for a few months, but the rest of it is in that scroll. Zabuza said, getting a nod from the blonde. If you don't need anything else, we'll be on our way then. Zabuza said. After getting a nod from the blonde, the three ninja took off into the trees. Naruto turned and headed back towards Tazuna's house, ready to finish the mission and head home. Konoha. A day later. Hiruzen was looking out his window over the village he had sworn to protect. He heard the door open and could immediately sense who it was. So what brings you back of all times, Jiraiya? We have a problem, sensei. The new village Otogakur has been interacting a lot with Suna lately. My spies have gathered information and I don't think you are gonna like it. Jiraiya said. Hiruzen lit his pipe before looking back at Jiraiya and motioning for Jiraiya to continue. It seems Oto and Suna plan on invading Konoha during the upcoming Chunin exams, and the leader of Oto and the invasion is Orochimaru. Hiruzen sat at his desk thinking over the information that Jiraiya had just told him. His ex-student had his own village under his control and had talked Suna into joining him and invading the village. He knew his ninja were strong and could handle themselves. However, going against 2 villages alone, he was unsure of how much of a chance his village actually stood. So what are you going to do, sensei? We have no idea what Orochimaru is after with this invasion. Jiraiya said. We will have the Chunin exams like planned and tighten security around the village. We will just have to try and figure out what his plans are before he can execute them. Go and see if you can gather any more information and report back as soon as you can. Hiruzen stated, getting a nod from Jiraiya before the Sannin disappeared. The Hokage sat thinking on what his possibilities were when an idea popped into his head. He was unsure if it would work or not, but he had to try. He bit his thumb and made a quick set of hand signs before placing his hand on the ground. Summoning Jutsu. In a poof of smoke, his personal summon, the Monkey King Enma stood before him. Hello Hiruzen, I sense no battles around, so what did you summon me for? Asked the large monkey. I need a favor, Enma. Orochimaru is planning on invading the village during the upcoming Chunin exams and I need you to do something for me. Hiruzen said. You should have killed him that night, Hiruzen. It would have saved you all this trouble. What is it you need from me? Go and talk to Katsuyu and see if she can take you to Tsunade. I think it is time I retired once again, and Tsunade is the best choice I can think of. Even if she declines, the village could still use her help with the invasion. Hiruzen said, getting a nod from the monkey before her vanished in another poof of smoke. XXX. Yugakure, the village hidden in hot water. On the outskirts of this village, there is a small traditional Japanese-style home. In the backyard of this house is a blonde-haired woman with waist-length hair and brown eyes. In the middle of her forehead was a small blue diamond. This was Tsunade Senju. She was out walking around some flowers in her yard when she felt the familiar chakra of her slug summon and another chakra signature that she knew but couldn't quite place. Tsunade-sama, someone is here to see you. Spoke Katsuyu. Tsunade turned around to see her slug and a large white-furred money. After seeing the monkey, she immediately remembered the chakra. Enma, it is good to see you again. You too, Tsunade, it seems you are doing well for yourself. Enma said as he looked around the property. Actually, this is all thanks to my husband. Tsunade said. Enma's head immediately snapped back in her direction, and as he looked at her, he noticed a small silver ring on her left ring finger. You got married. Someone must have some balls to marry you. Enma said, not noticing the look on Tsunade's face. Enma, I think you just messed up. Katsuyu said. Enma looked back in her direction, but before anything else was said, Enma felt Tsunade's fist impact with his gut as he was sent flying over the house. Enma landed with a loud thud in front of two other females. He slowly stood up and looked at the two women. One looked to be in her mid-20s and had black hair and eyes. In one arm she was holding onto a small pig while the other was being held by the smaller girl. The small girl looked to be around 5 or 6, had brown eyes, and pale white hair that reached her mid-back. She looked like a smaller version of Tsunade to Enma. Come back here, you damn ape, I ain't finished with you yet. Tsunade started but stopped when she saw the other two females. Ka-chan. The little girl yelled as she ran up to Tsunade. Hello Mito-chan, did you and Shizune have fun today? Tsunade asked. Yep, Shizune Oba-chan even bought me ice cream. The now named Mito replied. Tsunade-sama, what is the Hokage's personal summons doing here? Shizune asked. I don't know, but he better start talking. Tsunade replied. I'll just let him explain. Enma said before he was surrounded by smoke. Out of the smoke walked Hiruzen until he saw the three girls in front of him. It seems Enma did find you after all. If it isn't too much trouble, Tsunade, I need to speak with you. Hiruzen said. Mito-chan, go with Shizune and play inside for a little bit. But I want to spend time with you, Ka-chan. Mito replied. I know, Mito-chan, but right now I need to talk with Sensei. Your two-san will be home in a little bit and then the three of us will spend some time together. Tsunade explained to her daughter. Mito nodded in response and left with Shizune. Tsunade turned to lead Hiruzen around back and motioned for him to follow. You seem to be doing good, Tsunade. It seems you finally decided to find someone and settle down with two. You know, little Mito-chan looks a lot like you, but she's got the same hair color of another of my students. Hiruzen said with a smile as he sat down with Tsunade. We're all happy here, Sensei. Mito-chan is already studying medical ninjutsu with Shizune and Jiraiya-kun is gonna start her own training in the next year or so. Tsunade replied. So you and Jiraiya settled down together, huh? How did that happen? We ran into each other in a small gambling town one day a few years back. At the time Shizune had gotten hurt really bad and with my homophobia I couldn't help her. Jiraiya helped me get over it quickly and after that, one thing led to another and then we got married and settled down. Mito-chan came along 6 years ago and we couldn't be happier. So what are you needing, sensei? Tsunade asked, curious as to why the Hokage was here. Jiraiya informed me that Konoha is going to be invaded during the upcoming Chunin exams by Suna and Oto. The invasion is going to be led by Orochimaru. I am strong for being as old as I am, but I'm not sure if I will be able to survive this invasion, Tsunade. I would like you to consider returning to Konoha and becoming the Godime Hokage. Hiruzen explained. Tsunade sat there for a few minutes thinking it over quietly to herself. After a few minutes of silence, she looked at Hiruzen and spoke. I can't give you an answer just yet, sensei. After Dan and Nawaki died I vowed to never return. With having my family here now, I'm not sure I want to return to Konoha at all. Tsunade said. That is understandable, Tsunade. I'm not trying to force you to return or anything, but there is one family member you still have in Konoha. I know that the Senju and Uzumaki are distant relatives and Minato and Kushina's boy and Jiraiya's godson, Naruto, is still there. Even if you decide not to become the Hokage, stop by and visit sometime. Hiruzen replied. I'll talk to Jiraiya once he gets back and I'll give you an answer by Friday. That's all I can do for now, sensei. That's fine, Tsunade. The Chunin exams also start Friday, so this will give me time to get everything going before I receive your answer. Goodbye, Tsunade. Hiruzen said before he vanished as Enma reversed summoned him back to Konoha. A day later, teams 8 and 10 were on the back of a large ice blue dragons. It was a 4-legged dragon with white wings, a long tail, 2 horns on its head and gold eyes. The two teams had left Wave Country close to 5 hours ago and was already about 10 minutes from Konoha. After flying for a few more minutes, the dragon began to descend and landed in front of the 2 gate guards as they stared in awe at the large beauty. After the 2 teams got off the dragon's back, the dragon began to shrink and turned a deep crimson in color. The dragon was now smaller than Naruto's arm and curled itself around his neck before lying down. Thank you for the ride, Niji-chan. Naruto said. Pretty sure Niji means rainbow in Japanese. It's now problem, Naruto-kun. Niji replied before falling asleep. How come you didn't bring Team 7 along, Naruto? Choji asked. For 1, I don't like Team 7. For 2, Niji doesn't like Team 7 and I won't force her to carry anybody she doesn't like. Naruto replied as they continued on in silence. As the 2 teams continued their walk to the Hokage Tower, Ino spoke up, breaking the silence. What kind of dragon is Niji, Naruto? I noticed she changed the color of her scales a few times. Ino asked. She is my personal summons and is considered a very special dragon within the Dragon Clan. Once every 500 years, a dragon is born with the ability to use each of the 5 main elements, and if they train hard enough can even use some of the other elements like the ice release or lava release. Niji is the dragon that was born with that power this time around. When I signed the summoning contract, the first dragon that I summoned was Niji and she vowed to be my personal summon. I have a sealing tattoo on my arm that I can use to summon her if I only need her at the time. The reason her scales change colors is because of the fact she can use different elements. Naruto explained as the group walked into the Hokage's office. The group of 7 ninjas stood before the Hokage and bowed to their leader. Mission complete, Hokage-sama. The bridge is finished and Gato is dead. Team 7 should return within the next day or 2 since Naruto's summon didn't bring them with us. We ran into 2 missing nin from Kiri and a hunter nin that was working with them. Kurenai spoke with a small smirk gracing her lips. Very well. You and your teams shall receive A rank pay for this mission. Kurenai, Asuma, Naruto, please stay. The rest of you are dismissed. Hiruzen said and waited for the others to leave before speaking. What about the rest of the mission? Asked Hiruzen. Kakashi seemed to train the 3 genin equally, but that may be because we were there. Naruto and Sasuke had a spar and Naruto put the Uchiha in his place. There was something that happened during the fight between us and the missing nin, but I'm not 100% sure what. Asuma replied. Hiruzen nodded before looking at Naruto. Did you reveal your bloodline? And do you know what happened? My team and Team 10 know about and promised not to tell anyone. I did end up using my Sharingan, but I don't think the Uchiha or Hatake saw it. According to what Kurama knows of the Sharingan, I unlocked the next stage of the Sharingan called the Mangekyo Sharingan. But because of the fox's chakra, it was morphed into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan without needing another set of Sharingan to transplant. When I unlocked the Mangekyo, I gained the ability to use the Susanoo, so I was behind it, so I don't know if they saw or not. Naruto explained. Who's Kurama? Kurenai asked. Naruto looked to Hiruzen, who nodded before Naruto spoke. Kurama is the name of the Kyuubi. We talk to each other and he isn't like what everyone makes him out to be. I will explain more later. So what happened on the bridge? The cage asked. Sasuke and I were fighting the hunter nin that was with Zabuza. The hunter nin went to attack Sasuke and he switched places with Hinata and she took the attack. Naruto explained. I'm sure Kakashi and Sasuke will go to the council when they return, so be expecting that, Naruto-kun. For now you three are dismissed. Hiruzen said as the three ninja left. XXX. Ino was walking towards her house thinking about the last mission. She knew she didn't like Sasuke anymore, but she wasn't sure what these feelings for her fellow blonde was, but she wanted to find out. She and Naruto were friends before she became friends with Sakura, and they started competing for Sasuke's attention. She started acting cold towards Naruto and she had regretted that decision ever since. She continued her walk and noticed Hinata walking down the road towards her. She walked up to her and stopped in front of her. Hi Hinata, I was wondering if we could talk later. Ino asked. It's about Naruto-kun, right? Hinata asked, getting a nod from the blonde. Hinata didn't like the idea of Naruto having to have more than one wife. She was hoping to keep Naruto to herself, but if it meant she could be with Naruto, then she would learn to share with whoever else that Naruto chose to be with. Come by the compound later tonight and we'll talk. Hinata said before leaving the blonde and heading home. XXX. Naruto sat outside the council chambers waiting to be called into the council room. Just like he expected, the moment Team 7 arrived back in the village, the Uchiha went straight to the council. Sasuke was currently in the council room while he was sitting there waiting to be called in. Naruto-kun, they're ready for you now. Naruto turned toward the voice to find his adoptive sister Yugao in her Anbu attire. Thank you, Neko-chan, Naruto said as he stood and moved into the room. Walking into the room, Naruto saw the Hokage with the three elders at the back of the room. To the Hokage's right sat the ninja side of the council with the current clan heads. To the Hokage's left sat the civilian council with Sasuke at the end of the civilian side. Naruto walked in and stood in the middle of the room. Hokage-sama, Naruto said with a bow. Genin Uzumaki, you were brought here before the council today on charges that you attacked two fellow Konoha ninja during your last mission. We would like to hear your side of the story. Hiruzen said. Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but since this is a ninja matter, shouldn't only the ninja council be here? Naruto asked. On the outside, Hiruzen remained neutral, but on the inside he was smirking at how Naruto was handling this. That is a very good point, Genin. The Hokage replied, getting wide-eyed looks from the civilians. Hokage-sama, you can't be serious. We can't let this demon do this. It has to be the Q. That was as far as he got before a sword erupted from his chest. Would anyone else like to break Hokage-sama's law? Neko asked. The civilians quietly made their way out of the council room while sending glares at Naruto as they left, leaving a fuming Uchiha behind. Alright, Genin Uzumaki, please tell us what happened. Hiruzen asked. Sasuke and I were in the middle of fighting a hunter nin that was with Zabuza and Ichigo. Hinata-chan and Shino were left to guard Tazuna. Hatake-san and Kurenai-sensei were dealing with Zabuza, and Asuma-sensei and his team were dealing with Ichigo. During our fight with the hunter nin, the ninja decided to attack Sasuke. He switched places with Hinata-chan and she took the attack instead of himself. Naruto said, causing Hiashi to glare at the Uchiha. After I found out she was still alive, I moved to attack the Uchiha and Hatake jumped in the way. I never managed to touch either one. Naruto finished. Very well, thank you, Genin. Since we have heard both sides of the story and none of us want to be here any longer than necessary. Do we find Genin Uzumaki guilty of the charges? Hiruzen asked and only received 2 votes from Homura and Kaharu. Genin Uzumaki, you are found not guilty of these charges. Everyone is dismissed. Better luck next time, Tem. Naruto said as he walked past Sasuke and out the door. As Naruto was walking down the stairs, he was stopped by the one person he never expected to be stopped by. Hello Naruto. Do you have some time to stop by the compound and talk with me? Asked Hiashi Hyuga. Naruto sat in Hiashi's office in the Hyuga clan compound. Across from him sat the head of the Hyuga clan, Hiashi. The clan head's pale eyes seemed to stare right into Naruto's very soul. Naruto squirmed a little under the stare while Hiashi let a small smirk cross his face. Calm down Naruto, I simply wish to speak with you. Hiashi said trying to get the blonde to calm down. No offense Hiashi-sama, but what would the leader of the Hyuga clan need to speak with the demon brat for? Naruto said only to be smacked in the head by a pencil thrown by Hiashi. I have never seen you as the Kyuubi Naruto. I know the difference between a scroll and the kunai sealed within. First off, I want to thank you for looking after Hinata during your last mission. Hiashi said, I only did what any of her other friends would do for her Hiashi-sama. You don't need to thank me. Naruto replied. Tell me something Naruto, do you know of your heritage? Hiashi asked. Yes, I am aware of who my parents are. I also meant your grandfather Naruto. Hiashi replied causing Naruto's eyes to widen. How do you know about my grandfather? Naruto asked since only he, the Hokage and Yugao were supposed to know. Me and my wife were friends with your parents since we were all in the academy together. Your father and I were even on the same genin team when we started our career as ninja. Your father trusted me enough to tell me of his Uchiha blood and his father. Your parents also asked my wife and I to look after you if anything ever happened. Hiashi explained. Then where the hell were you when I needed someone there to help me? Naruto asked with anger in his voice. My wife died giving birth to little Hanabi-chan. I had to raise 2 little girls on my own and sometimes things got out of control. I never forgot about you Naruto. I talked to Yugao when you started living with her and sent her money to help support you until you became a ninja. Whenever you ate at Ichiraku's ramen, I paid your bill after you left. I never meant to ignore you Naruto, and I'm very sorry. Hiashi explained with guilt clear in his voice. Is that all you needed Hiashi-sama? Naruto asked. Right now he just wanted to go home and rest for the Chunin exams in 2 days. Just one more thing, how do you feel about my daughter? Hiashi asked catching Naruto off guard with the question. Naruto was silent for a moment before he spoke. She is a really nice girl and a good friend. When I am with her I have this strange feeling and I'm not sure what it is. I know she has feelings for me but I am planning on rebuilding my clan and that will require me to have multiple wives. Besides, she is heiress to the clan. She is needed here, and she would have to accept me being the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi first. Give her a chance Naruto. When Hanabi was born, the elders made a clan law that requires me to brand whichever of my children does not become the next clan head. During my time of grieving for my wife, I signed it without looking it over. I know Hinata would be happier with you than being clan head anyways. Just think about it is all I ask and please keep this just between us. Hiashi said getting a nod from Naruto before the blonde stood and left. XXX. Hinata was walking through her personal garden at the back of the Hyuga compound. A few feet behind her was the Yamanaka heiress, Ino Yamanaka. Hinata walked over to a bench that sat beside a koi pond and sat down watching the koi swim. What is it you wish to talk about Ino? Hinata asked. I know you like Naruto, Hinata, and I am not trying to get in your way of getting him to notice you. Ever since he knocked me out of the way of that sword back in Wave, I have had a strange feeling when I'm around him. We used to be friends back before Sakura and I started chasing Sasuke. I don't know if the feelings I have are the same that you have for him Hinata, but I want to find out. I'm sure you never dreamed of having to share him, but if my feelings for him are the same as your feelings towards him, then I at least want to try. At the very least I would like to rebuild the friendship that Naruto and I had. I just wanted to let you know since you seem to be the closest to him Hinata. Ino explained, waiting for the Hyuga's reply. It's true, I never wanted to share Naruto-kun, but it would be selfish of me to keep him to myself and keep him from achieving his dream of rebuilding his clan. I don't even know if Naruto-kun would accept the feelings I have for him. I guess that is something we can find out together and see if Naruto-kun would accept us. Hinata replied with a small smile, looking up at the blonde heiress who smiled in return. What did you see in the Uchiha anyway? Hinata asked. I truly don't know, Hinata, but whatever it was is completely gone now. Ino replied. The two heiresses sat there in the small garden talking for the next few hours. XXX. Naruto was walking down the street heading to Ichiraku's ramen in order to get some lunch. He had just restocked on his ninja supplies, making sure he had enough to do him for the Chunin exams that started tomorrow. Kurenai had explained what could happen during these exams, but Team 8 was still looking forward to taking the exams. As he continued along his walk, Kurama stopped him. Kid, that kid that you see as a little brother is in trouble. I can't tell how bad from here, but you need to move now. Kurama said, causing Naruto to stop moving long enough to get directions. Where is he, Kurama? Naruto thought back to the large biju. Take the next right, then go straight for a couple minutes. Kurama replied as the blonde took off running in the direction of his little brother. After a few minutes of running, Naruto came upon the sight of Konohamaru being held by the shirt collar by some boy in a black bodysuit with some type of wrapped package on his back. Standing a few feet from them was a blonde-haired girl holding on to what looked like a large fan. Quote,